Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching third part of What If Betrayed Naruto Chose a Different Path. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto said to Tsunade, "You sure aren't sugarcoating it, Ka-chan." He let out a sigh, rubbed his eyes, and thought about it all. "Tsunade," the woman said. She already knew that when her grandson called her by her first name, it meant he was being very serious. "You and I have made a deal, one that we both agree on. You will keep Konoha, its council, Shinobi, and Danzo with his root off my back, and if they come after me, I have the right to kill them if they do. In exchange, I will take missions from you that you wouldn't want to send your men on and don't want Konoha to get involved directly, like sabotaging Orochimaru's supplies, killing his supporters, and..." Now it was Tsunade's turn to sigh, because she knew Naruto was right and on the mark in this situation. She didn't want Naruto to go back to the place that almost killed him, especially now that he had a family. However, as the fifth Hokage, it was Tsunade's job to keep the people of village safe, even if they didn't seem like they deserved it. Because of this, 4 years ago, when the name Hanzo Hattori was known all over the world and Tsunade and Shizune knew who he really was, Tsunade made a deal with Naruto. The deal didn't seem like much at the time, but it's turned out to be very important for Konoha in the long run. Naruto would get missions from Tsunade through Katsuyu to deal with threats to Konoha. In return, Tsunade would keep Konoha off his back and pay him good money. Naruto had every reason to turn it down, especially since he hated Konoha and its people at the time, but he took the deal, much to her surprise and shock. When Tsunade asked him why, he told her, "There are more dangerous and vile creatures and people than those who live in Konoha, like one still breathing and seething in Auto. If taking them out of the game means making this world a little better for others, I'm game." That statement, as well as the way Naruto spoke about it in Konoha, showed Tsunade how much more mature and grown up he has become, as well as the fact that even though he was angry at Konoha, Naruto now knew, thanks to Mizu, that there are people who just want to see the world burn for their own pleasure. The fact that many of these people were looking at Konoha as a target was just a side effect. And that's how the deal worked. Naruto found people, groups, Orochimaru's forces, and other hidden enemies and killed them one by one in a quick and cruel way. He never took jobs that would hurt other countries or their hidden villages, like with Kumo or Iwa. Naruto would only deal with threats that were an immediate threat to not only Konoha but also other countries. But even though the deal meant Naruto would protect Konoha from its dangers, that didn't mean he was on Konoha's side when it tried to play dirty and hurt friends. The mission in River Country is the best example of what Naruto was ready to do if Konoha were to attack. 18 Chunin and 9 Jonin were killed. They were all battle-hardened veterans who had all lived through the invasion of Suna and Auto. Some of them were also elite veterans from the Third Shinobi War. Gaara had asked Naruto to watch over him on his way to Iwa, so Naruto killed them. As a result, when those shinobi tried to kill the Kazekage, Naruto took care of them himself. Tsunade had a lot of fun trying to explain to the Fire Daimyo and then the River Daimyo what a shinobi company as big as a military was doing in River Country. Next, Suna got angry, which almost started the next shinobi war. Then, Tsunade almost destroyed the Council of Konoha when she found out that they were the ones who sent those shinobi on this mission behind her back and without her knowledge, just like they are now. They thought that Tsunade was now just a figurehead who wasn't even good enough to be a puppet, and that they could run Konoha however they wanted. Well, they picked the wrong Hokage to mess with, because Tsunade wasn't the third Hokage. She was the fifth, and she was sick of seeing the village that her family had defended, built, and grown into a blood vessel for all those leeches to feed off of. No, Tsunade had had enough of how bad Konoha was getting, and she decided it was time to save it. Uncle Tobirama had told her that when the forest gets too wild, a fire is the only way to clean it up. And Naruto was Tsunade's fire. "I remember our deal, Naruto, and there's nothing wrong with it. However, even though your work has saved Konoha from being destroyed many times, its end is still coming. And I don't mean from the outside." Tsunade saw that Naruto got this one. But from the inside. Naruto looked over Tsunade's shoulder and saw his old friends and allies lying in the mud, defeated, while Karen, Hinata, Shizune, and Katsuyu worked on them. "I think we should talk about this inside my house. You can bring your guard with you, Ka-chan, but not any of the unwanted guests. They can stay here for the night, but if anyone tries to come inside the house without my permission, then Kiba will have some company on his way to hell." "Fine with me. Anko and Kurenai, you're with me." Gurren and Yugo, take the defensive posts around here and make sure those idiots don't do anything stupid. Karen, Shizune, and Hinata, once you're done here, you're welcome in as well, Tsunade said. Kurenai and Anko were happy to come along, and Yugo and Gurren nodded in agreement. Hey, what about us? Naruto, aren't you going to invite us in? We're the closest people you have. Jiraiya asked indignantly as he and Kushina moved to stop the two. At least let us stay for the night. We've been moving from Konoha to here for 2 whole days, for crying out loud. Naruto-kun, I know we're off to a bad start, but if you'll just let me talk to you, I'm sure you'll see that I'm. Kushina tried to talk, but Naruto didn't want to hear either of them. You broke into my private land, insulted me and my family, and tried to force me to go with you. Now you want to come into my home for tea and cakes? If it weren't for my real Ka-chan here, I would have sent you home in body bags, Naruto said coldly. Jiraiya was furious at what he said to him, which didn't escape Naruto. Jiraiya, you can fume and steam all you want, but your half-done Sage Mode wouldn't have saved you anyway. So, you know it was Sage Mode, right? Jiraiya asked Naruto in a low, threatening voice. Then you should also know how much more power it gives people, right? Naruto just nodded. I've already hit you with my Rasengan here, so you should know how powerful it is. What would you, the exiled shame of the 4th Hokage, have to counter that? Senju hidden jutsu. Me gotta know whatever it was, huh? Tsunade stiffened and her eyes widened in shock at the mere mention of it. Naruto was going to use Migata no Gokui? If he could recreate that jutsu, not even Jiraiya in full Sage Mode and Kushina could stop Naruto. Even Madara Uchiha had trouble with it when Uncle Tobirama used it, Tsunade thought to herself as she looked between Naruto and Jiraiya. Naruto finally answered. It was one option I was willing to use against you, old frog, Naruto said to him coldly. The second one. Have you thought about how I was able to teleport away at different distances without any visible markers or kunai with marks like my father used? That made Jiraiya and Kushina think for a bit, before Kushina looked around for a bit, her careful eye examining the land around her, before her eyes widened in shock and surprise. This is. Kushina turned to look at her son and saw that he was smiling just a little bit. Sochi. How did you do it? Even Minato-kun couldn't. He couldn't make it real because he didn't have time to draw the needed ceiling inscriptions. My father was a genius when it came to Fuinjutsu, and he already had the theory worked out. All I had to do was make it real, Naruto told Kushina in a simple way that surprised her. My name is Naruto-san or Naruto Kushina, not Sochi. You haven't been allowed to call me that for a long time. Jiraiya asked her, Kushina, what are you two talking about? Kushina said, Minato's last work in Fuinjutsu was Takamagahara, but Jiraiya didn't hear her. Minato's prowess with Hiraishin may have been great, but he wanted to find a way to teleport within a specific area without any markers, in any particular spot or place, even those that were not marked. He never explained the details to me, but all he said is that involved the usage of barrier Fuinjutsu and Hiraishin's formula somehow. This is what he meant by it all. A barrier part for creating a covered area, while Hiraishin is to teleport anywhere within the said area. Naruto said, it's a trade secret, and like I said, my father did the whole job. I just put it into action. You were all in Takamagahara, and I could have killed you all in half a minute because I knew where you all were the whole time. The only reason you got the drop on me is because I was careless and busy with Sasuke. Next time, I'll make sure to go after the most dangerous ones first, Naruto said to both of them. Naruto told them both, I don't want to see you anywhere near my house, so for your own health, stay away, or I'll find out, as he, Tsunade, Kurenai, and Anko went straight to Naruto's house. Wow, Gaki, not only have you grown bigger, but it looks like you've also grown some pretty big balls along the way, Anko said with a laugh, which made Kurenai and Tsunade look at him funny while Naruto just laughed. But, if I remember right, you were always as squeamish as hell, even during your Chunin exams, remember? Naruto said with a smile to Anko, yeah, but back then I was much dumber, shorter, wore a kill me, orange jumpsuit, didn't have much skill, and had the gall to forget how good dango tasted and how my favorite hubby Ne-chan was the one who introduced me to it. Anko stood still after hearing all of this, and Naruto turned around to face her. I have to say, Ne-chan, I don't know how you didn't kill me when you saw me in that orange monstrosity. After all, you said, if I ever catch you eating dango without me, pulling pranks without telling me, or wearing orange, I'll string you up with my snakes biting off your balls, Gaki. And as far as I and a few other people know, that part of my body is still with me. Hubby Ne-chan. Gaki. Anko's mind immediately switched back on, and she jumped into Naruto's arms while crying and smiling. She didn't care that she was ruining her reputation as a tough-as-hell bitch, because that didn't matter to her anymore. What really mattered to her was that Naruto remembered her. He was like her little brother and the closest thing she had ever had to a family. Anko may have always been one of the most difficult people to get along with and make friends with, but that doesn't mean she didn't have feelings. Her best friend Kurenai was the best example of how Anko was a real person. When Kurenai took Naruto off the streets, who at the time looked worse than dead, covered in blood, bruises, injuries, malnourished, and half dead, Anko took an instant liking to Kurenai's adopted son. She became very protective of him almost right away and spent as much time with him as she could. Some people might think that Anko would make the worst sister, but Naruto thought she was the best big sister ever. She was his closest person after Kurenai. Anko took taking care of Naruto more seriously than even doing her job as a shinobi, but it didn't hurt her work. Anko would take care of the blonde bundle of energy when Kurenai went on missions. During the time Naruto stayed with Kurenai, any civilian or shinobi who even looked at him would have to deal with a very, very angry Anko Mitarashi, who would never forget or forgive anyone who hurt her little brother. Anko gave him all of her love and money. She bought him clothes, gifts on his birthday or just on random days, took him to a dango restaurant, and even took him to the Forest of Death, even though Kurenai lectured her for 5 hours about that last one. Overall, though, Anko loved Naruto like he was her own flesh and blood, and Naruto loved her like she was his older sister. So, when Anko saw Asuma's blades coming down hard on Naruto, who was already hurt from his shoulder to his tailbone, she snapped very hard. It was the only time Anko used the curse mark that Orochimaru had given her on purpose. She had sworn she would never use it, but her little brother was about to be killed by a jerk of a son of Hokage, so she didn't care. Anko almost killed Asuma back then if it hadn't been for Anbu, who showed up when Naruto suddenly woke up Kyuubi's chakra to protect his sister. After that, it was a nightmare for Anko. Naruto's memories of Kurenai and Anko, as well as this event, were sealed away, Asuma wasn't punished, and Anko had to keep quiet about Asuma's attempt to kill Naruto. Hokage told her that if she told Kurenai or anyone else about it, Anko and Kurenai would both be sentenced to death. So, Anko kept quiet, even when Kurenai started dating Asuma. She did try to talk Kurenai out of it, but it didn't work because Kurenai was hurting and looking for comfort after losing Naruto. Too bad she found comfort in the arms of the worst person in Konoha, according to Anko. And as for Naruto, she and Kurenai tried to look out for him from a distance, but they were given a clear order: stay away from Naruto or face the tribunal and death for treason and putting the village in danger. Even though the girls had always been loyal, it took everything Kurenai and Anko had not to betray the village and just take Naruto away. Anko was forced to watch him grow up alone, without friends, hated and beaten by the village, and then thrown away like trash. He almost left the village, but Kurenai, who was so sad that she was almost dead, stopped him. She stayed only for her surrogate sister, and when Kushina came back and told everyone the truth about Naruto and how she left him, Anko and Kurenai went as far as to confront the wife of their dead Hokage, attacking her and nearly killing her in the process. When they heard that Naruto had died, Anko and Kurenai felt like their hearts had been stabbed. They were sad for 2 long years after he died, and serving the people who had sent him to his death was like living in hell. The only reason they didn't quit being shinobi was because the 5th Hokage told them that Naruto wouldn't want them to suffer because of him and that he would want them to live, if not for this village, then so that he wouldn't have to cry for them if they died because of him. It worked, and both Anko and Kurenai stayed as shinobi. Anko joined Hokage's personal honor guard, and Kurenai kept doing what she was doing. Now, Anko was crying happy tears on the shoulder of her brother. My sweet little Gaki finally remembered his hubby Ne-chan. I'm so happy. Awa! Anko cried out loud while Naruto hugged her and held her tears back. Stop crying, Anko. You're a jonin, not a 5-year-old girl whose toy was returned, Tsunade told her in a half-serious tone. I don't care. My sweet little Gaki finally remembered me, and I'm so happy that I can't stop crying, so shut up, Awa. Anko said through her tears. She then pulled away from Naruto, still crying and with a quivering lip. How could you not tell me and Ne-chan that you remembered us? And why did you fake your death, you baka? Do you know how sad we were? Don't you love your Ne-chan? Anko asked through her tears. Tsunade was sweating and Kurenai was just laughing, but she was quietly crying from happiness. And no, of course I love you and Kurenai Oni-chan very much, but, okay, how about this? I'll treat you to free dango for the rest of your life, plus you'll get to meet your niece and nephew, plus I'll tell you how did I manage to pull that one prank on Anbu on your birthday, as an apology. If Naruto had learned anything about taming a wild Anko Mitarashi, then it's that you need to remember 4 things: dango, family, free of charge and pranks. Anko's mind picked up on the important words in the sentence right away, and her tears stopped. She smiled in her usual way and agreed right away. Deal, you are forgiven. Anko said right away, before she could think of anything else. Wait. Niece, nephew. When she and Kurenai realized what they had heard, their eyes grew as big as saucers. Kurenai said, Naruto-kun. You mean? You have KK kids? Naruto nodded in agreement. Yes, I do. Yusaka and Masamune, a 4-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy, are the children of 2 of the 3 wives I love, and they're both excited to meet you too, Naruto told them with a smile. Anko yelled, Awa! My little Gaki has lost his V-card and has his own 2 little Gaki. Why wasn't I there and wait a flipping second? Wives? Naruto was almost deafened by this one. Naruto. A as in. More than one? Kurenai asked herself. Naruto slowly nodded at this one, and Kurenai blinked, trying to figure out what it meant. I don't even know. I know that polygamy is not against the law, but to have 3 wives. Naruto, maybe we should talk about. Anko shouted, Ha, I bloody knew it. He was very happy. I fucking knew that no girl would be enough for you, but to get 3 wives. Oh ho, Gaki, I need the details, and I want them now. Anko demanded of him. Did they take turns with you, or do you prefer to do it all at once? Do they have favorite positions, or do they like to switch? Do they also to each other while you are? Anko's mind was already racing with thoughts and images, but Naruto stopped her. Anko, don't take this the wrong way, but you're starting to sound like Jiraiya. Anko stopped talking for a second, then huffed. She asked him in a friendly way, Hey, can't a big sister be interested in her little brother's private things? Then she gave him a wicked smile. And you know, your big, hot, and beautiful big sister wouldn't mind teaching you and your girls a few special moves in the art of extreme close horizontal taijutsu. Naruto couldn't help but blush, even though he had a lot of built-in self-control. Oh, looks like you are interested. While Naruto was talking to Anko, Kurenai asked Tsunade, Lady Tsunade, if you don't mind my asking, why did you let Naruto marry 3 girls at the same time? Sanin turned her head to Kurenai in surprise. Was there a reason I shouldn't have? Tsunade asked. It's not very common, and most people don't like to see this kind of relationship, and I was pretty confused at first, but it's nothing too wrong to my eye. If anything, our former blonde Gaki here can be too much trouble for just one girl to handle, and with his 3 wives, I know he is in very good and loving hands. Kurenai, why did you think I was against it? Well, I mean, based on your age and experience, I thought you were more of a traditional woman and… Yuhi, did I just hear a comment about my real age? And what is this traditional type of woman stuff? Are you saying I'm a wrinkled old crone like that dustbag Kaharu? Tsunade lets out a lot of ki, which makes Kurenai pale and scared for her life. No, of course not, Lady Tsunade. You are a woman at the peak of her beauty and spirit, I just meant that. Kurenai started to answer in a panic, but Tsunade spoke up again. Oh, forget it. Come on, I've been moving all day and haven't eaten yet, and I really want to see my cute little grandkids, so move it. Tsunade told everyone as she led the way to the house, with Anko separating from Naruto, who was now closer to Kurenai, and speaking up to her. Naruto asked her calmly, Is there any way I can make up to you for what I did, Oni-chan? Kurenai just moved closer to him and gave him a tight hug. Now you're forgiven, Naru-kun, Kurenai told him as her surrogate son, little brother tightened his grip on her. How old you are. You used to be such a cute little boy, but now. Naru-kun, please forgive me, Hey, it's okay, Oni-chan. I know and understand what you and Anko-ne-chan had to go through. I just wish I could have been there for both of you, Naruto said in a sad voice, as Kurenai smiled at him and then moved away. Naruto told himself, looks like I need to work on my gadotsu more. I should have gone for the heart to be sure, but he didn't. I'm sure you'll get your chance, but I'd rather take a swing at that jerk's neck myself, Kurenai joked, making Naruto laugh. Naruto, about Tsunade's offer. Do you at least think about it? I know and understand how much Konoha hurt you, but Iruka, Konohamaru, Shizune, Yugo, Tuchi, and Ayame, as well as Lady Hokage, me, and Anko, all miss you very much. Oni-chan. Even though I hate Konoha and everything in it, and there was a time when my hatred for it almost cost me everything I had. Naruto shuddered when he thought about the time when he was too deep in his own hatred. I'm willing to hear what Ka-chan has to say, and maybe I'll even go with her. I've had over 7 years to grow up and learn to put aside anger and rage for the good of the mission and others. However, what I'm really worried about is not myself, but my family. You know how cruel and horrible that place can be, Oni-chan. Do you think I want my children and my beloved wives to be there, where wolves, vipers, and hawks? I get it, Naruto-kun, Kurenai said. He understood him well. Don't worry, Sochi, I'll take care of that front for you, Tsunade told Naruto as they got closer to the house. Naruto's eyebrows went up. If you accept my offer, you and your family will not be seen as part of Konoha. Instead, you will be seen as personal help sent to us by Fire Daimyo. If you, your kids, or your wives are attacked, harassed, or hurt in any way, you will have the right to kill those who hurt you. Don't worry about the paperwork, I'll take care of it for you. All I need is your signature and everything will be taken care of. Naruto said, you know I'm going to ask you how the hell you got the Fire Daimyo to agree to this. I know that the previous daimyo owed you for helping him give birth to his daughter, the current daimyo, but I don't see how she could agree to this. The truth is that our current daimyo is in a bad mood because of Konoha and how it has been acting. Specifically, she is very angry at the council and wants to get rid of the corruption and bad guys as soon as possible. As you can imagine, Konoha's aggressive actions toward other countries have caused them to turn away from Hai no Kuni. Naruto nodded at this one. Konoha, especially its council, has been acting much more according to its own wants and needs than on the path set by the daimyo and Hokage. As you can probably guess, this lack of respect and eager independence in actions is a sign of rebellion, which could turn into a civil war in Hai no Kuni, throwing the country into chaos and letting other countries invade. Not just their hidden villages, but armies of samurai, ashigaru, and feudal lords as well. An all-out war. Naruto said with a grim face, knowing very well what Konoha's actions would lead to. Hai no Kuni would be split into two camps that fight each other, while other countries invade and destroy the weaker sides, taking the land, people, resources, and everything in between for themselves. This could have happened to Mizu no Kuni if it hadn't been so far from the mainland and if other countries hadn't had big enough fleets to transport troops. If that hadn't been the case, Ieyasu and his forces wouldn't have been able to end the war. Glad to see you understand what's at stake, too. And while our daimyo supports my plan, your old friend and the current daimyo of Mizu, Ieyasu Tokugawa, suggested you. Naruto was surprised to hear that. It looks like the daimyos of Hai and Mizu are cousins or distant relatives, so they are close friends or something. Yeah, now I remember. Hai no Kuni daimyo's clan is Matsudera, and the Tokugawa clan was a branch of Matsudera that moved from Hai to Mizu and settled in Mikawa. It's kind of like how Senju and Uzumaki moved from Hai to Mizu and settled in Mikawa, Naruto said as the group stopped right in front of the house and noticed a powerful ceiling barrier put up around it. Naruto asked his first wife, Kurama, in his mind, Kurama, it's me. The danger is over, so could you please take down the barrier? I still have a link with you, so I heard and saw everything, Naru-kun. It'll be down in a second, but I want to warn you, if I smell that red-haired banshee anywhere near our home, I'll bijudama her ass into oblivion, Kurama told her husband mentally, and the barrier came down right away. And just so you know, I really don't like hearing about going back to Konoha. Naruto told them, let's go inside, and I'll introduce you to my family. Just so you know, the kids are sleeping, so don't make noise. Yusaka sleeps very lightly. Anko immediately made a joke. Really? Then how do you and your ladies practice your horizontal taijutsu, or are you teaching them from a young age? Anko asked. Both Tsunade and Kurenai gave him a dirty look, but Naruto answered calmly. No, Nei-chan. Just a good old silencing seal put in the room, and the only thing you need to worry about is not breaking the bed or the wall like that one time, Naruto simply said. Anko let out a wolf whistle, and Naruto opened the door and went inside with everyone else. Gaki, I'm officially proud of you, and I can die knowing that my cute little brother knows what real sex is. By the way, was it an angry sex, or were you two just so excited that you couldn't wait to get into bed? Anko asked him honestly, ignoring the looks. Not exactly, more like in the heat of the moment, if you're wondering, Naruto said. Anko gave him a thumbs up as she and the other women entered the house, where Kurama, Yugito, and Matabi were already waiting for them. Kurenai and Anko looked at them with interest. Kurenai corrected herself, so, they are Naruto's love wives. She looked at each of them with interest. The redhead seems to be the oldest, and she looks a lot like Mito Uzumaki, so she might be an Uzumaki by blood. She seems nice, but she has an air of power and dignity about her, but when she looks at Naruto, all I see is love and devotion. The blonde girl is also older than Naruto, but she's a kunoichi with years of experience and a strong hand. Well, so these are Naru-kun's women, huh? Anko asked with a sultry smile and a hint of curiosity. So, the redhead here seems to be the type for more traditional and one-on-one type of action, but you never really know with redheads, plus it always the quite ones that are the most wicked in bed, and I can bet she packing quite the set underneath that kimono. The blondie here seems to have less in boobs and rear department than the two, but what a fine piece of legs, and I would bet my dango that she is one for athletics. And if so, then Naru-kun certainly doesn't need to worry about things getting stale for certain. And the brunette, whoa, not only is she packing quite the sets, but she is most definitely a wild one. No messing around, straightforward hardcore sex till the bed is broken and you are sore in all places. So he got a traditional Miko, with possibly a closet aptitude for kinky stuff, an agile kunoichi with flexibility, which goes well with reach of Naruto, from where I see it, and finally, a wild bombshell like little old me here, Naruto. I am so fucking proud of you and jealous of them that I could just kiss in. Wait a minute, Anko, are you? Lady Tsunade, we weren't expecting you this early in the month, Kurama said first, with a genuine look of surprise on his face. At least you could have sent Katsuyu ahead of time. We could have cooked you something good, and Yosaka and Masamune. Oh, don't worry about it, Kura-chan. I was here on official business, taking care of all the... Tsunade stopped herself before she could curse, which made Anko raise an eyebrow. Kura-chan, are Ya-chan and Ma-kun asleep and in their rooms? Tsunade asked in a whisper, and all three girls nodded. Kurama said with a smile, they are, and I put up soundproofing seals because I didn't want the noise to wake up Yosaka and Masamune. Tsunade let out a sigh of relief. Phew, that's good to know. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. So, me and my honor guard here got her like we were on fire, dealing with those nut-brained idiots sent here by those goddamned counselors just to get Naruto here, and now I nearly had another big chunk of Konoha's forces sent to Shinigami for dinner because those motherfucking counselors are so goddamn proud and shit, and thanks, I really needed that. Sorry, girls. Nah, it's fine. Compared to when Kurenai-chan gets all hot and angry about things, you are pretty easy to handle and manage. Plus, you don't break people's limbs when they piss you off. Mata laughed at that one, which made Kurama shoot her a look while Kurenai and Anko looked even more surprised. Wait, did our Hokage just check to see if it was safe for her to curse? Anko asked, and Naruto nodded. When the hell did that happen? Since when does Tsunade fucking Senju need to check if she can curse? Since I don't want our children to grow up to be bad people and I want them to have a good upbringing, if I catch you, Mitarashi-san, cursing in front of my daughter or Ma-kun, I will make you very, very sorry you cursed. I hope I'm clear? Kurama said with a voice so full of ki that even Orochimaru would sweat bullets and Anko would pale and shake in fear. Anko quickly decided and nodded, *T, this lady isn't just talking, she's all business. He didn't know who she was, but he knew he shouldn't upset her. Of course, I never say a bad word around kids. I'm usually good with kids and never say a bad word around them. Well, on this one, I can actually vouch for her. Anko can be loud, foul-mouthed, has manners worse than a sailor, but with kids, she *s the most trustworthy person you can find. I would know, since I *ve left Naru-kun with her more times than I can count, and not that I didn't *t care about him, I just, Kurenai immediately realized the form of what she said and wanted to clarify it, but Yugito stopped her. We know, Kurenai-san, and all three of us here would like to thank you for taking care of our husbands for us, Yugito, Kurama, and Matabi bowed to the two girls. We owe you and are very thankful that you were there for our Naruto-kun. Both Anko and Kurenai were stunned for a second before they looked at Naruto. Don't worry, they know everything, including that I have a Kyuubi inside me, Naruto told both of his sisters, while Kurama laughed in his head through their link. I don't keep anything from my family, and they know they can trust me. Matabi said, yeah, we all know about Naru-kun's big, bad fox sitting in his stomach. Oh, we didn't even introduce ourselves. Sorry about that. I'm Matabi, or Mata if you want to be friends, but you guys are family, so call me Mata-chan. The beautiful blonde next to Naru-kun is Yugito, Naru-kun's second wife and my best friend along with Kura-chan. It's nice to meet you. I've heard a lot of good things about you from Naruto-kun, and I'm glad to meet his big sisters. Yugito smiled at them, and Anko rubbed the back of her head sheepishly and a little bit embarrassedly, while Kurenai smiled at her. I saw that you were looking at me, Kurenai-san, and yes, I'm a kunoichi, or rather, I used to be one. Kurenai asked Yugito, a former one? Did you retire? Not quite. Let's just say that my village no longer needs my special skills and someone has decided to cut their funding for me, Yugito said in a way that only Kurenai and Anko could understand. Thank goodness Naruto-kun never leaves people in trouble when he can help them. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't know what it's like to be loved and cared for, or the joy of being a mother, Yugito said with a smile that made her blush a little. Mata looked lovingly at her husband and said, yes, our Naru-kun is our personal knight in shining armor, and we just can't get enough of him. Before you ask, Kurenai-chan and I aren't shinobi or anything. We're just regular people with special skills, like Kurenai-chan being great with seals and me being a fiery old lady. Does that mean that you, Mata-chan, are from a clan with some kind of fire-based Keke-genke, while you, Kurama, are an Uzumaki by blood, since? Kurenai asked, with Kurama taking the lead. I can't say for sure for Mata-ne-chan, Kurenai-san, but my parents were Uzumaki, but they weren't shinobi. They were both civilians, with my father dying before I could remember him and my mother being a Miko priestess at a small temple on the island of Honshu of Mizu no Kuni. I studied under her and later became a Miko, while she also taught me Fuinjutsu. However, when the war started, I decided to leave it and went to my ancestral home in Uzu to see it for myself. There, Naruto-kun and I met, probably because our pasts drew us together and… well, I think the rest doesn't need to be said. Kurama smiled a little and blushed a little. Mata said, well, I'm an orphan and don't know anything about my parents or relatives, but I've known Kurenai-chan since we were kids and we've been friends for a long time. So, Tsunade-chan, can you tell me what all that commotion was about? Naru-kun jumped up when he sensed that the barrier had been broken, and he told us to stay put with the barrier up. We were already worried about those Akatsuki nut jobs this morning, and now this. Wait, Akatsuki is here? Tsunade was shocked, and so were Anko and Kurenai. Naruto took the lead. Two members of the Akatsuki, one named Kakuzu of Jongu and the other Hidan the Jushinist, came to wave this morning and caused some damage, which caught my attention. From what I could tell, those two were after the bounty put on me, or Hanzo, if you prefer, Naruto told them, with Tsunade and the other two-leaf shinobi listening. They weren't well prepared and were cocky from the start, so I ended up having the upper hand against them. I put Hidan under a genjutsu, keeping him out of the fight, so I only had to deal with Kakuzu. It was hard, but I've dealt with far more powerful people, so I got through it. As for Hidan, the Jashin followers and those fanatics have some sort of pseudo-immortality put on them, which makes it nearly Naruto. We've been trying to find out about them for years, and you just killed two of them like it was nothing, Tsunade said to him. Jiraiya has been trying to find out anything about them for over 7 years now, but hasn't been able to do so, he replied. Damn it, I sometimes forget that you could be just as good at fighting as my old uncle Tobirama. Did you at least learn something from them, anything? Naruto told his grandmother, nothing, and I doubt Hidan would like to talk, not that I would let such a psycho out anyway. But it looks like your spymaster doesn't even know how and where to look for information about them. Naruto just rubbed his temple for a few seconds. The Akatsuki don't work like most Nukenin, but more like Ronins like me. They take jobs as independent mercenaries, work for the highest bidder, operate in the shadows, and even use proxy and puppet companies as a front for their operations. Back in Mizu, at least 3 mercenary companies were secretly controlled by Akatsuki, working as their proxies and making money for them. Kurenai asked him, Naruto, and how do you know about it? Naruto told them, I learned most of Akatsuki's business plan from one of the mercenary leaders I questioned during the war. For the rest, I have informants and friends in pretty much every country in nations. This is how I get most of my contracts, and those people also tell me about rival companies, Ronins and Nuke Nins who are also in this business, so they also know what Akatsuki is doing and what they want. Many of my trusted sources told me that the Akatsuki is most interested in the Jinchuriki of the hidden villages and their tailed beasts. They spent millions of Ryo to find out more about them, including their names, families, powers, ranks, and how to approach them. This is more information about them than we've gathered in the last 7 years. When I get back to the village, I'll put this to good use, Tsunade decided before she remembered why she was here. Anyway, girls, there's a reason why I'm also here, and it would be best if I told you all about it. Can we sit down? Everyone did, and Tsunade finally started to talk about why she was there and what she really wanted from Naruto. 20 minutes later. Tsunade had finished her story and talk, telling Naruto, Anko, and Kurenai, as well as Naruto's wives, what she was planning for Naruto and what kind of mission she had in mind for him. Anko and Kurenai were having a hard time processing what they had just heard, while Mitabi and Yugito looked at Tsunade with wide eyes and Kurama was deep in her own thoughts. Naruto just sat there with his hands on his knees, eyes closed, and thought about everything until he finally spoke up. I've got to give it to you, Ka-chan. I didn't think you'd give me such a mission out of all the missions, requests, or just friendly favors you could give me. Naruto opened his eyes and looked at her. Okay. I've done some really difficult stuff and completed near impossible missions. Destroyed at least 4 castles, killed 2 Biju, saved over 2,500 men and women in a single night through Iryo Ninjutsu. But this will make Uchiha's massacre by Itachi look like a child's play. This is Onoki's combined collection of wet dreams and possibly the biggest, meanest, most disgracing flip-off for first, second, third and fourth Hokage. Minato suddenly spoke up from Naruto's mindscape after being silent for more than a year. He said, actually, seeing how things are in Konoha and how it fell, I have to say that I am much more on with this plan. Naruto, I know we've talked about this, and I know you want to stay away from Konoha, but maybe it's time to face your demons, if you know what I mean. This surprised Naruto and Kurama, who were listening through their link. Anko said, after thinking about what she had just heard, yeah, you're not kidding. If old monkey shitbrain had heard you right now, he would have a bloody heart attack. This mission sounds more like something that would give my old teacher a bone. If he still has it, or whatever is hanging down there. Anko, I think we understand what you're saying, and yes, she's right, Kurenai said, looking at Tsunade's hard face. Lady Tsunade, I know the situation in Konoha is not good, but aren't there less extreme things you could do to help? Kurenai, you should know by now that any other options would not only not work, but would only make the infection in Konoha worse, Tsunade said, using medical terms. Daimyo herself has personally stated to me that the situation with Konoha is now beyond her patience and mercy. Either I implement what we just discussed into action, or she will send her armies to put Konoha to the sword. She won't have a civil war to fight like one in Mizu, and see the other nations march upon her with their full armies, chopping off regions and land like a butcher chops off the meat off a pig's body. Tsunade let out a sigh. This is the situation we're in. This isn't just Konoha anymore. It's the whole land of fire. Either we do this, or the whole country becomes nothing more than a footnote in history books. Yugito spoke up and said, yeah, and what you are proposing here can be translated as the highest form of treason. Me, Mitabi, Kurama, and Naruto here don't care about your village, Tsunade, and you know it. However, what you're suggesting. If other villages find out about this, you'll be facing a new Shinobi war. I know. Was all Tsunade could say to them. I've fought in 2 of them, and even back then, Konoha always won by sacrificing something or someone, despite what the true Will of Fire said. Uncle Tobarama, the clans of Senju, Uzumaki, hundreds of shinobi, and more. I'm sick and tired of this way, of sacrificing good people on the altar of Konoha like some savages. Also, compared to an all-out civil war, shinobi wars were always much more contained. Battles were fought far away from civilian areas, daimyos, feudal lords, and other politically important people were kept out of it, and most people in the country didn't even notice the battles or wars. In fact, the Second Shinobi World War was the most destructive and expensive of them all, with most of the action taking place in the mountains. But the kind of war Ka-chan is talking about here. This kind of war makes the Shinobi World War look like a small skirmish on the borders, a contained small experiment between the nations, a show of their power in a controlled way. But civil war. It is uncontrollable chaos made real, where civilians die not in the dozens or tens, but in the tens of thousands every day. Former friends become the worst enemies in a single night, and there is. Anko asked him, was it really that bad out there? She had only heard rumors about the whole thing, but she thought they were overblown. I heard some very bad things happened there, but it couldn't have been that bad, could it? Naruto told her, no, Anko. It was worse, which shocked her. She could see in his eyes clear flashes of the nightmares that kept him up at night, and he sighed and continued. When everything is taken into account, what Ka-chan is suggesting is the lesser of two evils, or even three, Naruto said in a simple way. Tsunade asked him, so, Naruto, does that mean that you will accept this mission? Naruto told her that it did. You know, if it were just about me, I would have gladly taken this mission. Just thinking about it makes me kind of giddy, Naruto said with a small laugh before getting serious again. However, this is no longer just about me. If I go back to Konoha, I will bring my family with me. I can't just leave them here, and Akatsuki will soon react to the loss of two of their members. However, I will not bring my wives and children back into that nest of evil and corruption if I don't know if they will be protected or not. I can personally guarantee their safety, and you already know what will happen if someone hurts them. You can respond with deadly force if you want. There are no strings attached from Konoha. You and everyone you bring with you on this mission are officially Daimyo's personal private contractors, hired by her to help Konoha and told to take orders only from me. And just to be clear, you and your family will be staying at my estate. Even civilians won't be dumb enough to try anything in my house, and I'll get to see my cute little grandkids a lot more often, Tsunade said, already planning to spoil them rotten while she had the chance. Mata said, well, I don't like or dislike Konoha, except for what they did to Naru-kun, so if Naru-kun is in, I'll go along with it. Yugito told him, same here, and I won't let my husband be all alone in that nest. Naruto smiled at her and Matabi, then looked at his first wife, who was deep in thought. Naruto told her through their telepathic link, Kurama, it's your turn now, love. If you don't want it, I'm ready to say no and not ask any questions. Just say the word. You know how much I hated Konoha, Naruto, for all they did to you, how they betrayed their own founders and made fun of their work, and most of all, how they used you and kicked you out, Kurama said to him mentally while looking at him in the real world. Of all the places on this planet, that is the only one I wish didn't exist. It used to be a place where I would have been happy to raise Arusaka, Naruto-kun, but now. Ah, Mito, you were right again. Kurama, if this is what you want to do, then we won't go to Konoha. Instead, we'll go to Mizu and Naruto-kun, Kurama suddenly stopped him mentally. You know that I loved and respected my friend Mito Uzumaki, who is your grandmother. What you might not know is that she asked me for something before she died. Flashback. Back in 1978. Mito Uzumaki's mindscape. Mito Uzumaki, an old, very old woman and one of the last remaining Uzumaki, was sitting on a small bench by the ocean. She was wearing a simple white kimono and seemed to have her eyes closed, but her wrinkled, old face showed a happy smile. At her side sits a young woman who looks very pretty. Her long, snow-white hair is pulled back into a long ponytail, and she has blue eyes and skin that looks like alabaster. She is wearing a white and light blue kimono and is also looking out at the ocean. Two old friends sat together on a bench until Mito said something. Mito smiled at Kyubi, who had once been her prisoner but was now her best friend and the only person who still stayed with her. Kurama smiled at her friend and said, "There's no need to thank me, Mito-chan. I just wanted you to see and feel your home. I know it's just a mental picture of your own mindscape, but..." Mito sighed as she looked at the sunset and told Kurama, "No, it's beautiful. And thank you, Kurama. You always seemed to know when I was feeling down. I want to thank you for being with me, an old, wrinkled woman who may be the last of a clan that no longer exists and is about to die." "Mito, that's not a good way to talk," Kurama told her in a light way. "Your clan is one of the strongest, and I know it well. I'm sure Shingen got a lot of your clansmen out of Uzu in time, not just that little brat Kushina. And what's all this talk about dying? You're still as lively as ever, and I don't see why you should die." Mito stopped her by saying, "Kurama." In a strong, firm, but calm and soothing voice. "It's okay. I know my time is almost up, and you know it even better than I do," Kurama said with a sigh. This made him look very sad. "Look at you. The great and powerful Kyubi no Yoko is so sad because her jailer died." Kurama almost yelled at her, "Don't talk like that, Mito." As tears came out of her eyes. I was wrong to say all those bad things about you, and I'm sorry. You're the closest person to me, and you're more than just a person. You're my best friend, and there is a way to make things right." Mito said softly to Kurama, "You know what I think about that, and I still think that way," as she took her hand. "And I've never been angry with you for what you said to me all those years ago. I'm sorry I kept you here and locked you up against your will. I wish I had done things differently back then. Mito. Kurama gave a bit of a sniff. Is there anything I can do to make it easier for you to die? Mito just laughed at this question. Mito laughed at Kurama and said, "Oh, Kurama, you have helped me more than you know. You are a good friend. Had it not been for you, I doubt that this old body and spirit of mine would have lived so long, especially after all the losses I had seen. First was Hashi-kun, then Tobi-kun, and after him my Hiro-kun and Nene-chan, then my little Nawaki, nearly all of Senju, and now my clan, the great Uzumaki clan, my home and village of Uzushiogakure, gone just like all of them." Madara Baka was right. For many years, I didn't believe him, but now that I look at Konoha, I can see that he was right about everything. Darkness has appeared and grown, and now it's not just a small leech, but a tumor that grows and eats what my husband and our clans had built. Kurama listened to her friend without disagreeing, because it was true. Kurama said, "Yet, there is still light and hope for it. Minato is Suna's son and your great-grandson. He is still young, but I can see the best of Hashirama and Tobirama in him. He is calm and collected and doesn't look for trouble, but he knows that to keep the peace, one must be willing to die for it. I am sure he will lead the village out of these rough waters and into calmer ones." Mito said what she really thought. Yes, he has what it takes to be a worthy Hokage, but I fear that this village may no longer be worthy of a true Hokage. Hiruzen's ideals of peace and pacifism may be good, but how he had seen them implemented had corrupted this village. His peace, it is not the peace that Hashi-kun wanted. It is an apathy, negligence and inability to stand for peace when it matters the most, and it is this apathy that gave way to corruption. And at the other end is Danzo, with his ideas of truly strong hidden village. He may think himself smarter and greater than Hiruzen, yet he is the same fool as Saru. And in the end, we have a man who is blinded by the light of so-called peace, and another who is so deep in darkness that he can no longer see the shadows of light. In between them grew the Konoha I now know, but didn't recognize before. Now, Konoha isn't a sign of a bright future and peaceful life for our children. Instead, it's a tree whose roots are rotting, whose leaves are burning away in the sun, and where there is no real shade. Kurama, I fear that Konoha's days may be numbered, and that its own people may one day not only bring its end, but also start the Sengoku Jidai in Hai no Kuni all over again. Mito told Ku. I feel the same way, and even more, Mito-chan, Kurama said with a small bow. I know I shouldn't ask you for anything, but do not say it like that, Mito. If there's anything I can do, just ask. Kurama was ready to do anything to make her best friend's last hours easier. Mito smiled at her with tears in her eyes and said, Thank you, Kurama. I'd like to ask you for a favor. If Konoha ever stops following the ways and teachings of its founders, I want you, the only person who has lived in Konoha since the beginning, to save the village from itself. Help it save itself? If you think what you say is true, then. Are you sure? Kuma asked her, since he could tell what she was thinking because of their link. To go this far. Would Hashirama and Tobirama be okay with this? Hashi-kun wouldn't do that. He would try to bring the village back to its beginnings in a more peaceful way. However, I'm afraid that by that time, no one would listen to what he had to say. Even so, he would know why this had to be done. When a garden isn't taken care of, weeds and wildness take over, destroying it and turning what was once a place of peace and calmness into a place where bad things live. Mito sighed and looked out at the ocean. If it gets to that point, that garden could become a threat to the fields of crops, take away the precious bread that people eat. And before that can happen, the garden must be brought back to where it started, and Kurama, there is no middle ground here. I know that Kushina will take my place when I die. Poor thing, her mind is already messed up by the council and their warnings about you, as well as Hiruzen's blinded ideals. I wish she had listened to me, but call it a gut feeling, but I think that one day you will find a host who will be able to save Konoha and bring it back to what it used to be, and I want you to guide him, Kurama. Will you do one last thing for this weak old woman who lives alone? Mito asked Kurama, who listened before heaving a sigh of defeat and speaking up. You had to play this old song, Mito-chan, didn't you? He looked up at her and said, Very well. Mito Uzumaki, I swear to do your last request on my word and in honor of my father, Rakudo Sennin. And I really hope that the host after that stupid girl will be at least half as good as you. Mito just laughed at this one. I don't have a clue, Kura-chan. Who knows, the next time it could be a boy who looks cute. Mito made a joke as she looked at Kyuubi's confused face and said, You might even fall in love with him before you know it. Flashback end. Mito Ba-chan. I didn't even know it. I've always known she was a great woman and the real mother of Konoha, but to ask you, Kura-chan, to do such a thing. I'm shocked, Naruto said to her in his mind. The legacy of her husband was the most important thing to her. In the end, when her family, clan, and friends were all gone, the only thing left for her was the village, which she and Hashirama had built for their children, Kurama said to her husband with sadness. And for decades, she watched it change into what you saw, Naruto-kun. For her, I think Konoha's destruction, which was not physical but spiritual, was the last thing that killed her. It killed her soul. The destruction of Uzushiogakure had hurt her deeply, but the decline of Konoha was the last straw. I wish I could have done something to make her pain go away, but I hate this Konoha, Naruto-kun, and I will never accept it or let it touch our family, that is my word. But I gave Mito my word, swore on my father's name and memory, and that was enough for Mito to die without more pain. Even though I'm known as the Destroyer, no one will ever say that Kurama doesn't keep her word. And I won't be able to sleep well until my friend's soul is at peace. Naruto-kun, I beg you. Kurama looked at her husband, who just nodded. All of us are coming. Naruto said to Tsunade, I'll do it, Ka-chan. This surprised her and the girls, and Tsunade looked at Kurama, who nodded. But let me be clear, we are not with Konoha. No one there will have a say in what we do, and if anyone touches my family, I'll kill them, even if it's their favorite Uchiha, Danzo, or Kushina with Menma. I hear you, Sochi, and I thank you. Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief and bowed to him before turning to Anko and Kurenai. If you say anything about this talk, you can kiss your careers, citizenship in Konoha, and Hai no Kuni goodbye. Both women nodded at this one. Kurama told Tsunade, when we get to Konoha, I'll seal the hell out of our home. Tsunade looked at her in surprise. I'm an Uzumaki. Kurama said to the people around her, we seal everything we can get our hands on. And the fact that Mito taught me all of her seals and I reviewed them all in Uzumaki's vast library is a more than welcome addition to my already terrifying power, she thought to herself. I agree, but even if my family and I go out there, we'll still need help. Naruto said as he rubbed his chin and thought, plus, there is still some unfinished business that needs to be taken care of. Well, it looks like I won't be going to morning training tomorrow. Ka-chan, would you be willing to come with me in the morning? There are a few people I'd like you to meet, and a few of them could help you a lot with your plan. Can you trust them? Tsunade asked right away, and Naruto gave her a nod. Trustworthy, loyal, and I would trust both of them with my life, Naruto told her with a smile. I've put my life in the hands of one of them during Mizu's civil war, and he is possibly the best swordsman of this time, a master of the Hirazuki style, and one of the Shinsengumi and Mizu legends. What about the other? She and I have been friends for a long time. We met when I first became a shinobi. Naruto told her with a small smile, she may not have shown herself much in the last 4 or 5 years, but in Mizu she saved more lives than I did, and she also brought back to life one of Leaf's most loyal shinobi who was thought to be dead.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.